to my channel where today I want to give you some makeup tips. So I feel a little bit awkward doing this. I've been wanting to do it for ages, but I've always felt like I'm not good enough at makeup. I'm not a professional. I just really like doing makeup, and the reason I got really into makeup is because I like doing portraiture, and I thought that'd be quite helpful to some people, so that's what we're going to do today. But without further ado, I'm going to get into my makeup tips. First tip is start with primer. There's already primer on because it needs to dry for a bit. I use the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. You can use whatever primer is good for your skin. If you use one that matches your skin type, I think that's the main mistake. I don't really know much about primers. I've only just started using one, so I don't go over in too much detail, but if you don't know what you're doing, ask someone who does. I know that all makeup counters are closed currently, but when they reopen, go and ask someone. Say, I think my skin is dry, what primer should I use for this? Also, let it dry a bit before you put on your foundation. Leave it for at least 5 minutes, otherwise it might start picking up, is what I found. Next, foundation. You can use whatever you want. You can use a sponge or a brush. With sponges, you want to dab it. With brushes, you want to swirl it, but I've not really seen much of a difference. I prefer the sponge just because I find it quicker, but I know people who use brushes and they really like brushes. This is a foundation brush. Foundation brushes are flat and they're more dense. It means that it goes all into the contours of my hand without me having to apply much pressure. So it goes into the palm of my hand just as well as it goes on the top of my hand. I will be using a sponge. And my next tip with foundation is don't do the dots on your face if you've never used foundation before. When I used to do that, my foundation used to have blotches, because it took me too long to blend out one section. So do it in sections and just use a little bit each time. Dot around a section and then blend out into that section. It just helps when you're not as quick as doing makeup as people you see on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. The only issue with doing it this way is it's much easier to miss a section, but I kind of do it in 5. So I do this bit, this bit, this bit, this bit, and this bit, and it means that I don't miss bits. Well, hopefully I don't miss bits. With getting a matching foundation, I would say get a professional to do it. I have pink undertones. I did not know this for a very long time. And then my younger sister, who is my twin, we have the exact same skin tone, went to a makeup counter and got her makeup matched by a professional. And that's the one I use. I just got the same colour as her. But yeah, there's a lot more undertones than you think. You can have cool, neutral, but you can also have pink, yellow. Done the face, now we do the neck. I think it's important to do the neck because even though my foundation match is pretty good, in certain lightings your foundation is going to show up different than your neck. So if you're taking a photo or something, it might just show up a little bit different. So even if you've got a good match, I would say bring it down the neck at least a little bit just to hide that difference. And the way I do my neck is, you probably see me doing it, I tap it on and then I scrape it down and then I buff it out. And then I use the other side of my sponge and I tap it in. And that's foundation. Next up is powder. You can use whatever powder you want. This used to be a pressed powder, but I dropped it, so now it's a loose powder. Either one doesn't really matter, just find one that you like. I would say start with cheaper ones, work out which type of powder you like with the cheaper ones, and then buy more expensive ones if you feel the need to buy expensive ones. And you don't necessarily have to use powder all over your face. I will say probably best to set under your eyes, even if you have dry skin, just because the under eyes tend to crease a little bit more than the rest of your face. To your under eyes, you want to take your powder brush, which is like a big fluffy brush. I'm going to get a little bit of the product, and then I find that pressing it flat and then holding it like this really helps. You can do it with a sponge. I've always found that I apply too much if I use a sponge, so I use a brush, and then I do my whole face just because I prefer like a matte look. If you want a dewy look, you can still set the face and then put a setting spray, like a dewy setting spray over, which is very helpful if you've got oily skin. It means that you won't get all the oils coming through, but you can still have that dewy look. This thing is a new thing I've been doing, which is setting spray over the base. I just find that it makes my skin look better and also makes the makeup apply better on top. So I'm going to put that on. Eyeshadow. So with eyeshadow, my main tip, if you're new at makeup, just pick one colour. Pick the colour you're wearing or the colour of the outfit you want to wear. Or if you just pick one colour, it's easier to match your outfit because you can just match the colour of your outfit directly to your eyeshadow. One colour is also good because it makes the rest of your face easier to do through colour theory. Obviously you can also use the same colour theory to pick the rest of your eyeshadow, but I think one colour looks bolder, simpler to match an outfit, easier to blend out, less blending involved. This can also be done for a neutral colour. You don't need 17 different shades of brown to get a neutral look. You can also just do a big brown smoky eye, I guess is how you would call it, and it just gives you that nice bold look. Another thing I found is that if you're doing a bold look, you're going to want 2 brushes. Only 2 brushes for your eyeshadow. You want like a denser one, that's for packing on the colour, and you want a fluffier one to blend out the edges. Brushes like this, they're better for little details. They're not actually good for packing on colour. Like if you're doing a cut crease, this is more what you want to use. And I find that these sorts of brushes are actually better for doing eyeshadow. I'm just going to do a nice blended out look, but if you want it to be sharper, you can take tape, just normal tape. If you're going to use normal tape, just stick it to the back of your hand a few times to get rid of the stickiness, because the stickiness will not only damage the underneath your eye, it will also pick up the foundation underneath. You actually want to make it fairly sticky at all, because we're not trying to stick back the eye or change the shape of the eye, we're just trying to stop the shadow going on. And when you're putting it on, I would say follow the protruding bit of your eye, this bit of your eye, I don't know what it's called, the bulk of your eye underneath, because it gives you a more natural shape, and it's also going to make the bottom easier to blend out, because as you can see I can just follow this line around, it goes straight into the underneath. It just looks more cohesive look, I think, if you do it like that. And as you can see, none of the makeup came off because I stuck it to my hand a lot of times. For me, I'm going to go in with, let's go with Pacific Dreams. I'm going to do a blue look today. Pack it on, and I start in the middle of the eye, up to the height that you want it, and then you want to blend out from there. Also, you can tap off your brush to get rid of the fallout. I never do. And in this stage, you're not trying to blend out the edges, you're just trying to get the shape in place, because I've always found that if you try and blend it out as you go, your makeup takes a lot longer and it doesn't necessarily look any different. And as you can also see, I'm also like stamping it on, I'm not swiping it on, because it's going to give you a bolder colour. Now we're going to take the blending brush. We're going to use very small motions. You can either do circles, or in these bits you can do like a little swiping motion and gently pull the colour up and away from the centre of your eye. I'm going to put the second eye on just so you can see the difference easier between the blended and the non-blended. So as you can see, this one, it looked a little bit messier. If you want to go for this sort of unblended look, I would say go in with a small brush, outline it first, and then pack the shadow in the middle, because if you do it with big brushes you get kind of this not blended but almost blended kind of look along the edges. Or you can do this and then you go in with a brush and clean up the lines on the outside. Also a tip that I forgot to mention is start on your non-dominant side. So for me that's my left, it might be your right if you're left-handed. It's so much easier to do the eye on your dominant side, so to practice always start on the harder side, which is something I always forget to do, but I've actually done that today. Underneath, this is when these little brushes come in. You just want to pack it directly under the eye when you've got lots of shadow on your brush, and then you want to flip it. So there's a side with that I put in the pan, got more shadow. This side has a little bit of shadow, and you want to use that side to blend out the bottom. And you always want to pull it down a little bit and then backwards to lift the eye. And to get the shadow off your face, you just want to use your powder brush. Some shadows move easier. You can do the thing where you tap it on the back of your makeup pan, but I'm not in the practice of doing that, which is why I did not do that and why I got quite a lot of fallout. But yeah, you can just use a brush, and because the base is set, it comes off a lot easier. So blush, I have two different tips for blush. One is using the colour wheel and one is using hue. So with colour wheel, you want to use a colour that is directly next to the colour. So blue, one way is green, so you could do a green blush. The other way is purple, so you could do a purple blush. And in my opinion, the way to make it look more cohesive is to take the hue of your main colour, and if it's a lighter hue, you want to use the darker colour, and if it's a darker hue, you want to use the lighter colour. So for this, it's a lighter blue. I would go in with a purple blush, and if I had a darker hue, I would go in with the lighter side of the colour wheel, which is tending towards yellow, so I would use a green blush. And then I'd say stick to a green or a purple that is on the cooler side. So you want to use a green like this rather than a green like this. So you have your warm colours and your cool colours. Just stick to your warm or your cool colours. So I wouldn't use this purple, for example, as a blush because it is too warm toned. I'd use a purple like this, which is more on the cooler side because it has more blue pigment. The other way that I said before is by using hue. So this is blue, so you stick with blue and you use a darker hue or a lighter hue as your blush, with the same advice I was giving before. Whereas if your eye is darker, use a lighter colour. If your eye is lighter, use a darker colour. Or, easily, you can go in with the exact same colour, but with a different technique. And you can use the same technique I'm going to show you in just a second. And then with neutral colours, if your eye is cool, use a cool blush. And if your eye is warm, use a warm blush. So orange and pink are the traditional colours. I would say with that, it would depend on your skin tone. So if you're darker, use a brighter colour. And if you're paler, use a lighter colour. But obviously that isn't rule of thumb, you can use whatever colour you want. If you're going to do blush now, I would say use a fluffier brush rather than say a denser brush like this if you want a blended out blush. and then use this if you want a more intense blush. And I think I'm going to go in with a different hue, and I'm going to go in with Paradise, which is a lighter blue. And I'm going to use this brush. I've got my colour, and then you want to hold your brush closer to the end. You don't have to hold it right at the end. Hold it close to the end and do swirling motions, but you always want to make sure where you touch your face first is where you want the most intense colour. So with blush, I would say the apples of your cheeks are where you want the most intense colour most of the time. And then if you want a more intense colour, you can bring your hand closer to the bristles. See, you get a more intense colour compared to this. I prefer a more intense blush, so I will be using more of that technique. Don't worry about the eyeshadow right now. I will show you how to fix it in a little bit. Hope you can see that the more I'm trying to blend out, the closer to the end I'm holding it. The blush is now on, but as you can see, there's kind of a disconnect between the eye and the blush. For that, I would take the brush that we used to blend out the edges, and I would dip into the eyeshadow colour. I just lightly tap it around the edge and then blend it out, just to marry those colours together a little bit better. And obviously, this technique also works when blending different colours together. My suggestion is to dip into both of the colours just to make the blend more seamless. If you want to contour at this point, personally, I'd use the same colour as the blush in a darker tone, or you can go in with a actual contour colour, marry it more with the tone of your eyeshadow and your blush rather than the tone of your skin. So regardless of whether you have a warm toned skin, if you use cool toned colours, I'd use a cool toned contour. And then you want to take a contour brush and you always want to pull it down like this. You never want to start here, because if you press here first, like I said with the blush, you'll get a darker colour right here. And you're pulling it back, you'll get a dark splotch here and less here when you want more here. And then use small little motions going away from the contour line. I would say don't just do this, because you have less control and you'll get those little splotches. Because when you do a circle, I don't know if you can see, but right in the middle, part of the brush is catching harder on the skin than the rest of it. Whereas if you do this, there's nothing catching because you're lifting it off every time. Light hand, no swirling, don't bring it up, bring it down, and do it slowly. Just start small and get bigger as you go along. Next is eyebrows. I'm not great at drawing eyebrows, but I do know the theory, so I'll be teaching you the theory. And I know the theory from drawing portraits. So you want to take a pen or whatever you're using from where your nose is here, where it meets there, that's where the front of your eyebrows is. The arc is from your centre of your nose through the centre of your pupil. My arc is there. And then the tail is from the corner of your nose through the end of your eye. And obviously you can move it anywhere along that line, depending on how high you want it. I'm going to do mine in eyeliner just to make it the most obvious brow. What I do first is I join the dots together. This is not the bottom of my brow. Then I decide the height that I want the front of my eyebrow. And then join that with that dot again. And then you want to decide how much of a brow you want. So for me, I like it less thick than the front of my eyes, so I'm going to go a dot slightly lower, and for that I just put it directly underneath. And then you want to join this dot to this dot. And as you can see, this line is kind of redundant. For me, that line is usually where I like drawing my eyebrows. So if I want to have just little half eyebrows, that is the useful line. And then for the tail, I'm going to decide where I want it to end. So for me, I want it to end there. And then I'm going to join these two dots to it in a triangle shape. Okay, a little bit messy, I'm afraid, but you can see the idea. Then you can neaten it up. But you do now have an eyebrow shape, and again, you can put the tail wherever you want it. You can just continue that line up. You can put it up here if you want. You can literally point it that way. You can put it directly down. You can do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to fill that in. Now that I'm doing a tutorial and I just did that, that's fun. Fill them in like normal. Like I said before, this technique works just as well if you use pen or you've got normal eyebrows and you're just trying to shape them. You can also do it with eyeshadow. With eyeshadow, I'd say just use a brush like this, kind of the same as this really. That works really well. And you can do them as heavy or as light as you want. Same sort of advice as with the blush. If you want to do them lighter, just hold it further away and you can do like little flicks, if you can see that. Whereas if you want a darker colour, hold it closer to the bottom. Use that light hand for the front, just flicking it up a little bit, just make it look more natural, supernaturally natural. You can also move this eyebrow up and down. I usually draw them a bit higher, but I was just showing you where the natural eyebrow goes. I would usually do it a little bit higher, and I tend to arc them higher as well. Oh, I didn't even talk about the colour. If you want to do your natural hair, I would take a shade 1 lighter, just so it's easier to build up. If you're going off of your makeup, I would use the colour wheel again, so a purple brow would look very nice on this. If you're going with the hue, you can use a darker colour. This black is technically the darkest one, so it's like a darker version of blue. I think on the other side, I'm just going to show you how I would normally draw my brows. Less of the natural look. it's gonna look weird, but I'm not wearing this makeup for any particular reason, so it doesn't really matter. Start is the exact same, find the point, and then somewhere along this line, I forgot to say, you need to be looking straight forward to do this. Anywhere along this line you can put your arm. And your brows can be shorter, but they should always be heading towards that line. So my brows, I want to be heading towards this point here, draw them like that, and then as you can see, using the exact same techniques, you can get a very different eyebrow shape. Trust me on that. I know it seems like you can only draw them in a certain place, but no, you can draw them wherever you want them to draw. And for me, I much prefer this one to this one. For the front hairs, I didn't say before, just have them go straight up in the air. You can also, if you're using eyeshadow to do the front and make it more blended, just put a little bit of eyeshadow on and then you can just tap it out with your finger to get like a nice blend. Eyeliner. What I would say for eyeliner is all looks look fine with a traditional black eyeliner. All looks also look great with a white eyeliner. White eyeliner is so good for any look, just makes it look more fun. However, the complementary colour is probably the best way you can do your eyeliner. So for blue, that is orange. It's the opposite, and it will still go with whatever blush colour you have picked, or again a hue. For this, I think I'm going to go in with a black eyeliner just to make it easier, but I could go in with a dark blue eyeliner and to keep everything nice and cohesive. We're going to do black, and I'm going to show you how I do my eyeliner with hooded eyelids. I don't have massively hooded eyelids, but I do have hooded eyelids. So for hooded eyelids, you want to do your eyeliner with your eyes open, which seems weird the first time you do it, but it does work. So open eyes. Again, you can use your nose for the same technique for the bottom of the eyebrow, through the nostril, up through the corner of the eye. That is a good place to put your eyeliner. And then eyes open. Also, you can make your wing thicker, but as you can see, this is where my lid was, but this is where my eyeliner is, and you just want to join those two together. And it looks weird when your eyes are like this, but when you open them, you get a much better eyeliner look. If I just do my eyeliner how people say to do it on the other eye. I just did my eye like this on the other eye, which looks good when your eyes are closed, but when you're open, can you see the difference? This one just looks more straight out, whereas this one kind of does like a curve thing. Neither look bad though. If you like the look of this, you can do this, but this just looks more perfected for your own personal eye shape. Lashes. Lashes are very simple. I would just match them to your eyeliner colour. So for me, that is black. And then if you want to wear false lashes, my main tip for them is bend them into an eye shape before you put them on. Cut them down before you start gluing them, so make sure they are the right size. Cut them and then put them on. If you're new, use the ones with clear bands because they are easier to blend into whatever eyeshadow or eyeliner you have. Also, if you don't want to do lashes to match your eyeliner, black is obviously always a good option and goes with everything. Black goes with everything. Waterline. If you want to have bigger eyes, the brighter the colour underneath your eye, the bigger your eyes will look. If you want a unnatural look, white is perfect. It makes your eyes look very big. However, if you want a more naturally bigger eye, use the colour that is about 2 or 3 shades lighter than your skin tone in the waterline. Just use some concealer. You can get pencils in that colour, like waterline pencils, or you can just put your eyeshadow colour in your eye, or a lighter colour of your eyeshadow colour. A lighter colour of your eyeshadow will also make your eyes look a little bit bigger. I'm just going to go in with a light blue. And then, let's show you what white looks like. See, my eye looks wider now because I put white underneath. It's a bit messy, but white underneath makes your eye just look a little bit bigger. So, lipstick advice. I was going to use black for this, but I cannot find my black lipstick anywhere. I have no idea where it is. So, I'm going to show it with these two, which is actually probably going to be a better show of colour matching anyway. So this is a cool tone look. These are both neutrals. This one is obviously cool, this one is obviously warm. If I put this one up, can you see that the cool tones match a lot better, whereas this one flashes a lot more. So you just want to pick your tones. I think a neutral lip always looks good with whatever makeup you do. You can just put a blue with this. I think it'd be nice with a dark blue lip. Again, this would look nice with a black lip, but I cannot find my black lipstick. So I'm just going to go in with a cool to show you what I mean. So start on the bottom lip and just follow the natural lip shape round. Even if you want to overline at this point, just follow the natural lip shape. Okay, and then you want to purse your lips together. This will just fill in these little bits, which are for me the hardest to do, and then to do Cupid's bow, just do a little X and then join those shapes together. For me, I like doing all the way across the middle, so for that I just take a line down to change the shape. You can then go in and perfect it all. Do it very slowly, I'd say. If you want that snog look, I would say go in with blush first, but you can do it after. And for this, I'd take the blush tone and like a small fluffy brush. Purse your lips together and just pat it, keeping it more in the centre than you think. See, in the centre and then blend it out. And then what I do is I just use my finger. And then you want to go in with a darker colour. For me, that is the eyeshadow colour. Do the edges of the lip. And then again, you want to blend it out. And then because I applied lipstick first, you get kind of like this line where the eyeshadow is stuck to the lips. You can fix that just by going back in with the darker colour. Again, it definitely looks better when you put the lipstick on after. And if you put it on after, you just want to, I can show you. You can just tap it in the centre and then use a small brush like this. I think this is a highlighter brush where it's fluffy but it's also kind of flat at the same time. And you can just tap it and pull the colour slowly out, which I know is not very obvious, but you can kind of see the difference there. You can kind of tell that it works better if you do it this way around. Spots. For me, just get an eyeliner, whatever colour you use for your eyeliner, or the contrasting colour that you're adding in. So if I wanted to bring in pink, do some pink, and just do little hearts or crosses or anything on this. I saw this on TikTok a while ago. I put it up on the screen. She had like a little stamper thing with like, I think it was a star, and you can just stamp them. They're really good for this sort of thing. And you can make them as big or small as you want. Gets rid of the spots. It's like a nice alternative way of getting rid of spots and kind of adding some interest to your look. Okay, setting spray. Setting sprays are good. They stop your makeup transferring, especially when you have bright makeup. My makeup transfers quite a lot. Setting spray is very important for brighter makeup. Highlight. With highlight, if you want a brighter highlight, do it while the setting spray is still wet. And if you want a more subtle highlight, do it when it is dry. And you can do whatever colour you want. I think I'm going to go in with a mixture of kind of like a skin tone-y one for me, and then a blue because I use blue. Skin tone one for the nose, I just go across and then down. And when I use a fan brush, and then on the brow bridge, and just go up on the lips. I always do the cupid's bow, and then the bottom lip, and then I'm gonna go in with this blue. I'll literally kind of pat it on and then blend it out with your finger for a more subtle look. If you want a harsh look, just go in with the brush and then blend it like this with the brush. So you kind of get that line. I don't know if it's very obvious. This one's more blended, this one's more of a line. And I think that is it. This look is a mess, but hopefully this was helpful. If you did find it helpful, please give the video a thumbs up. Tell me what else you'd like me to do, or give other people more tips in the comments down below, and subscribe as I do post a new video every Monday and Friday, and I'd love to see you again. But for now, bye!